Hello and welcome to Relatable Code. In this video, we're going to talk about views and view groups in Android. So let's get started. When we talk about views and view groups in Android, we're talking about UI components. And the place where you define your UI components in your Android application is the layout.xml file, okay? In case we're dealing with views. This layout.xml file can be found in the resources folder inside the layout folder right here. Okay, so double click on that file if you don't have this open yet and just click on design. Okay, you might see this split view, but we need the design view for now. So this XML file is basically an extensible markup language file. Okay, it contains the UI elements of your application, each element having its own attributes, and I'll show you what I mean by that shortly. Okay, at the left here, you're going to see I have something called a palette. Okay, if you don't have that, you have to click on this button right here. So let's expand that palette, and inside that palette, you have ready-to-use UI components. Okay, you have texts, you have buttons, you have images, and many other components as well. You can drag and drop these components directly into the design that you see here. Okay, let's drag and drop a button from our palette into our application, just like that. Okay, let's enlarge this button so that we can see it clearly. I think that's a little too big. And that's basically how you drag and drop a UI element into your design in Android. Okay, and this is called a view. Okay, a view can be a button, it can be a text, it can be an image. It's basically anything that you can see and interact with. Okay, this is called a button. This hello world text here is called a text view. Okay, they are both types of views in Android, which you can use to define a nice UI for your application. Okay, let's drag and drop several views here. Let's drag and drop a text view like that, and let's drag and drop another button. So I told you that these XML files contain elements, each element having its own attributes. Well, if I click on this button right here, and I click on this attributes window at the right, I can see different settings which are related to this button. Okay, for example, it has a text and this text displays button. I can change that text inside this attributes panel. Okay, click on the search view here at the top, search for text, just like that. And here you can find the text that's displayed inside this button. Okay, this is one of the attributes of this view, and we can change the text just like we need. Okay, we can change this to something like our text, and we have to click on enter, just like that, so that our change can reflect inside our button. Okay, the same thing goes for our text views, which we created here. Okay, a text view is basically a text that can be displayed in your application as a label if you want. So this text view also has a text field here inside its attributes, and it's currently displaying text view. Okay, we can also have this display some custom text, for example. Just like that, we modified an attribute of this UI component or this view in our case. And you have many other attributes besides this text. Okay, so if I delete the word text right from here, as you can see, we can define a width, we can define a height for our text, we can define its visibility, whether we want to see it or not. We can define lots of settings actually. Okay, let's try to define a certain height for our text. We can start with a height like 50. Okay, but in Android, you can't just write 50 like that. You need to have a unit of measurement. And a unit of measurement for the height and width of your views is dp. It's very often used with views in Android, and We click on enter right now. And as you can see, the height of this text view just expanded to become 50 dp or 50 density pixels in our case. Okay. Density pixels are a special type of measurement unit in Android, and they were created because different phones actually have different screen sizes. Okay. So DP accounts for that and tries to maintain a consistent design across several phones. Okay. So 50 dp on one phone should be somewhat similar to 50 dp on another phone. And that's why we use the dp in XML. You can also define another attribute here, such as the gravity, for example. You can notice that my text is at the top here. I can go into gravity, just like that, and I can check the option for center. Just like that, our text dropped from here to here. Okay. And as I've told you, there are many attributes that you have in XML. I wanted you to have a general idea of what attributes are for our views. Okay. Let's try to run our application right now with this green button at the top. And it's launched. But here you can see something. The way we displayed our button inside our XML was not the way that they were displayed in our application. And that's because we didn't respect the view group in this page. Okay, if I open my component tree here, you can see that we have some errors here with the red exclamation marks. This happened because we just dragged and dropped our views just like that without any consideration of how to actually group them. Okay, and one fast way that you can group them here inside this constraint layout is with this button. Okay, it's called Infer Constraints. Let's click on that, and as you can see, we don't have any errors anymore. Let's run our application again. It ran, and as you can see, this is our very huge button, and these are our texts and other button as well. Okay, so what happened here was we used a view group to group our views together so that we can have a nice UI for our screen. Okay, and that's basically what a view group does. A view group is a special type of UI component, if you want, that has the responsibility of grouping several views together in a way that you want. Okay, in the way that you specify in your XML file. So I want you to get familiar with the concept of XML files, which are specific type of files where you define your UI components. These UI components are the views that you can see and interact with, such as our buttons, such as our texts, and many other views as well. Each one of these views has a certain set of attributes which you can modify according to your needs. And the way that we group these views together inside this XML file is by using a view group. Okay, a view group is a special type of UI component that basically has the responsibility of grouping views together. Okay, the view group that we used here is called a constraint layout. It's the default view group that gets created when you first create an XML file, or when you create an activity that has an XML file generated for it. You can switch between views just like this. You can click on design, you can click on split, and you can just see the code, the XML code in this case. Okay, this is how you open an XML tag, and this is how you close an XML tag. Okay, as you can see, this is applicable for our text views and our buttons. But as for our constraint layout, we open this constraint layout here actually. We gave it these settings. And where did we close our constraint layout? It was closed at the last line in this XML file, because this constraint layout has to contain the other views here in order to group them together properly. And to do that, you have to open the constraint layout at the top of the file, and you have to close it at the end of the file, just like that. And I want you to really experiment with these views. Try to drag and drop different views into your XML, see how they look like, and really get to know some of their attributes as well. Okay, get a little familiar with these attributes, and don't worry, we will deal with these a lot in the future, to say the least. Okay. If you find my content to be relatable, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next video.